Blog Talk Radio.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Book Journeys Radio. Here on Book Journeys Radio, we talk to authors about their first time writing their book, going from an idea in their head to a book in their hands. And today we have with us an author named Darrell Knoch. Darrell is the author of Mastering a Healthy Self-Image, the guidebook for real happiness and enormous success. So I think we all want that. So, Darrell, thanks for being here today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Great. And if people want to check you out while they're listening in, it looks like TrueWealthUniversity.com is the best place to go.
That is, obviously DarrellKnoch.com is out there, but True Wealth University really has the most information out there.
Terrific. So if you want to stalk Darrell while we are talking, go ahead and check out TrueWealthUniversity.com or Darrell Knoch, which is KNOCH.com. And Darrell, so tell us a little bit about mastering a healthy self-image.
Well, I grew up with an extremely poor self-esteem when I was a kid. And so as it came time for me to retire, I took a few years off, and then I decided that I really wasn't excited about being retired anymore. And I felt like I really wanted to go do something. But I felt like if I was going to go do something, I had to go do something that really meant something to the world. Not just going out and stacking up some more money. I'd had a fairly good level of success in my lifetime, and I felt like I wanted to go out and I wanted to touch the world in a positive way. And I had kind of an unusual upbringing. At age 1, I had an accident that crushed my face, and we were on welfare, and we didn't have the money to change any of that and fix any of that at the time, so I grew up with a crushed face. So that didn't help my self-esteem at all, but at age 16, I was able to get part of my face fixed, and then again at age 40, I got the majority of my rest of my face fixed. And so at age 22, I really went on a quest to start really building my self-esteem, building my self-confidence, building my knowledge base so that I could go somewhere in life. And I looked back and I said, you know how to take a young boy that grew up in the ghetto of Chicago with a really poor self-esteem, with a crushed face, and you turned him into a highly successful business person with a very high self-esteem and, more importantly, very happy with me. And I said, if you know how to do that, then that's your lot in life from this day forward, is you need to go out and you need to write a book that takes all of the life lessons that you learn and pass them out to the world and spend the next 20 years teaching the world those same lessons.
So we always talk about on the show when you have that idea in your head, that first time you got that idea, I need to get these lessons out to the world, until the moment you were standing on your porch or in your mailroom holding your book in your hand. How long was that process for you?
It took me about 8 months for all of that to happen.
Wow. That is lightning fast. I think you have the record on this show. I've never heard that number before. You must have been really ready to write it.
Well, I've been a business person all my life, 35 years that I spent owning my own companies. And so as I decided to do this, I looked at it as this is going to be my number 6 company that I'm going to take national and international. And so I looked at it as how would I approach this as a businessman?
Interesting. And so can you give us some of the tips, maybe give people a couple pieces of advice? I know there are a lot of people who would love to turn their book project around from, idea to holding their book in 8 months is really an incredible accomplishment. And, what's a couple tips you might give people to reach that same goal?
Well, some of the things that I did, because I fell into the same traps that probably most anyone would fall into right at my beginning. I was doing it in my office, and then, variety of anything that would come up would catch my attention, and I would get off track, and I wouldn't be working as diligently towards that project as I should be. And so I owned a motorhome, and I literally took that motorhome out into the middle of nowhere, sort of, and I just forced myself. Every morning I'd get up, I'd be in that motorhome. I had my computer set up, and I would get up in the morning and go right to starting to write that book. And so it took me about 5 months to actually physically write the whole thing, and then it took me about 3 months of education and research and so on to go through the process. I set up my own publishing company, and I researched the printing aspect of it. Being in business all my life, I had lots of things printed, so I knew the printing industry pretty well. And so going through that whole process, my advice would be, if you're really going to be serious and you really want to get it done that quickly, you've got to go sequester yourself someplace so that you spend 4 or 5 hours a day writing.
Interesting. And how about the technical aspects? Did you hire somebody? Did you self-publish? In 8 months, you couldn't have worked with a big New York publisher. They're lucky to turn it around in 18 months.
Yeah, being that I had been a business person all my life, as I was writing, one of the things for me is I found that I could write for about a stretch of 3 to 4 hours, and then maybe sometimes another hour or two after I went and had some lunch. And so, after that period of time, just giving myself a little bit of a break during the day, in the afternoons I would spend researching. And I really thought, just for my purposes, not everybody has the same situation as I do, but for me, I researched the big publishing houses. I talked to a few of them, and I came to the realization that for me, I wasn't about to spend, 6 months to a year working with a variety of publishing houses trying to, kiss their rear end long enough for them to decide to publish my book. And then on top of that, I felt like for me, they were going to give me 50 cents or $1 for every book that I sold, but yet all of them said to me, how much money, we want to make sure that you're going to spend $200,000-$300,000 on a marketing program before we're, if you're willing to talk to us about that, then we're willing to talk to you further, but you're still only going to get 50 cents to $1 every time you sell a book. And I just looked at that, yeah. And I said, that just doesn't make sense. I'm going to spend, which now has been, a few $100,000. I'm going to spend that few $100,000, and then I'm going to turn around and give them all the money. And basically, the bottom line was they told me, you're going to do all the marketing. We might open a door or two for you here or there, but we're not even sure. In my particular genre, it was considered a self-help book, and one of the number one things that almost everybody said is big deal. So you're another self-help telling people how to be happier and healthier. There's 50,000 of those out already. What makes you anything special, and why would your book do any better than anybody else's? And so after I heard that a few times and the whole mindset of the financial end of it, I just said, I think I'll research the self-publishing industry, the vanity publishing, I guess you might call it. And
Although I think that title, vanity publishing, used to have such a negative connotation, and now it really doesn't. I hear people using the term author-funded.
Right.
Which seems to have more of an empowering tone than, this book sucks, but I'm doing it out of my own vanity,
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good title for it, author-funded publishing. I like that.
I am partial to that, too. I always feel like Vanity Press seems like it's a terrible book, but I paid for it, so they took it on.
Yeah, I checked that industry out also, and for the most part, it seemed as if you did make a little bit more money on that. Maybe $2-3 a book that each time you would sell it, and then but there again, you're still in that particular position. You're the responsible party for all the marketing, all of the distribution, all of the. I mean, you might find someone that has some connections, but just because somebody has a connection to be able to get your book listed in Barnes & Noble does not mean any Barnes & Noble is going to carry your book. Just because it's listed through Baker & Taylor or Ingram or whatever it might be, you still have to go through the process of building relationships in order to get them to carry that book. And so I looked at that whole process and I said, I'm going to start my own publishing company. I looked at the possibilities, I looked at the requirements, and I started my own publishing company. And unfortunately, within 3 months of releasing the book, I was already number 4 on the top 10 at Amazon.
Wow, that is amazing success. And so what do you, because obviously you've had a lot of experiences in this process, what do you wish that you knew before you started this process?
Well, there's a number of things, without a doubt. It is a very different industry. And, in a sense, I'll use the words. I don't know that I mean this literally, but it's much more of a closed-off industry, and it becomes. There's a lot of people that will tell you in this industry that they have all the connections, that they know the right things to do, they know the right processes to take, and unfortunately, I know that there are some people out there that really have some legitimate businesses that do that, but I found that maybe 60-70% of the ones that I came across were not legitimate. They were willing to take your money as long as you would continue to dish it out, but they give you very little back for it. So what I wish that I would have known is that there is a whole industry revolving around the author industry that is there just to they teach seminars. You can go spend $200,000-$300,000 just going to seminars if you try.
Right, probably not even too hard.
Yeah, and a lot of them, they may give you some information, but when you're paying for those $10,000 and $15,000 and $20,000 coaching fees, they're not giving you that kind of value in return. And I wish that I had known a little bit more about that piece of the industry, because I did get caught up in a couple of those and realized how little they really provided for those big dollars that they were asking for.
Right, and also keeping in mind that in your case you do have more business experience than I think a lot of authors. So in some cases there might be information that people, that would be more valuable to some people.
Right, and that's true. I'm not saying that any of the information that I gained was not some value, because there certainly was. But I definitely ran into several people that told you that they could get you on every stage, they could get you listed in every book, they could get all your books carried bookstore in the country, and you just pay them $10,000 a month, and they'll make all that stuff happen.
Yeah.
And then literally,
and they tell you what to do.
Right, and then within a certain period of time, you start asking questions of, hey, I'm paying you $10,000 a month, and you promised all of these things. When is any of that stuff going to happen? And they say, well, your book's just not. They're not accepting your book. It's just another self-help book, and so they definitely were in the business of churning people that have few bucks to spend. Get them in, talk to them, tell them all the exciting things you're going to do for them, and then as soon as their money runs out, or they decide, or they find out that you're really not doing anything, they expect that they're going to keep churning people and just bringing them in and getting money for 2 or 3 months, and then somebody's going to get wind of what they're not doing, and then they're going to leave them, and then they get the next one. They go to trade show after trade show after trade show, just looking for people that they can churn 2, 3, 4 months at a time.
Wow. Yeah, I've definitely seen that too. It is the underbelly of this industry for sure. So why don't we talk a little bit about? I think those are some of the hard and some of the surprising lessons when you go into writing a book. So often it's from this, sort of pure and helpful place, and then there's definitely some seedy side and some hard things you have to get through in many cases as an author. But there's also a lot of upside. So what is the best thing to come out of having your own book for you?
Well, I really enjoy meeting people, talking with them, but even more than that, I get excited every time somebody says to me, I've read your book, it really touched my life. It's made such a difference with my son, my daughter, my granddaughter, whatever the case may be. And I have also, along with my book, with any business, you got to have some marketing materials. Just like I did with the other companies that I took national and international in my lifetime, I always had marketing materials. And so I have a couple of them that I use very heavily. I look at them as more than just marketing materials. There really are pieces that really, truly help people, but yet as a business person, I can also look at them and say, these are marketing materials. One of them is a gratitude coin that I designed about 7 years ago. And it's about the size of $50, and it says on one side, gratitude coin, on the other side it says, I am grateful for, and then leaves the question. And for, each of us to answer every day. And I started passing those out about 7 years ago, long before the book ever became part of my daydream. And I was just doing that because I wanted to touch people in a positive way. And so when I would go to a restaurant, when I would go to a store where I, go to get my car serviced or, whatever the case may be, I would always give gratitude coins out and say, I want to give you this gratitude coin as a way of saying, I really appreciate what you've done for me. You've taken good care of me. You gave me a great smile. You had a great attitude. I try to point those kinds of things out, and then I give them that gratitude coin, and I say, every time you touch this gratitude coin, you're going to remember that I said you're special. So every time you touch it, it's going to bring you back to this moment of feeling good about yourself because somebody told you were special. And so I've given out about 20, I'm going to say maybe 26,000 of those gratitude coins in the last 7 years.
Wow. That is amazing. What I love about this is so many authors say to me they they hate marketing, they don't want to do marketing, marketing feels yucky or somehow unpleasant to them. And to think of, I mean, this graduate, I totally have chills absolutely everywhere. It's a great story. It is marketing, but it sure doesn't feel like marketing. I mean, it feels like a gift to give it or receive it. And it's a way of making people remember you, and I bet a lot of those people, I don't know if you have your website on the coin or something, but it would make me curious to go check you out.
Well, obviously as a business person, which we all, as authors, we have to start thinking of ourselves as a business person if we really, truly want to be successful. I have to have my website on that coin.
Right.
So it is there. And then the second thing that I do, in fact, I had the good fortune of giving that gratitude coin out to a lady at a restaurant that was taking care of me about 6 months ago. And as I went through that little story with her, one of the things that I tell people about that gratitude coin also as I give it out is I say, this coin has magic in it. If you touch it every day, it reminds you to be more grateful. Being more grateful makes you a happier person. Being a happier person changes your life. And if you want the magic, you've got to touch it every day. And so as I said all of that whole spiel to this young lady, that she had a great attitude that night, I had somebody touch me on the shoulder, and she said, I'm a third-grade school teacher, and I just watched what you just did. And she said, I'm always trying to teach my third graders acts of kindness and saying thank you, showing that gratitude. And she said, you just did both of those things wonderfully with that coin and the way you talked to the lady that took care of you. And from that happening, we chatted a little bit. I gave her a couple of gratitude coins. She started using them in her classrooms in her school. Then her whole school started using the gratitude coins. The local NBC station in Phoenix, Arizona, where I lived for a number of years, got wind of it, did 3 different stories on me and the gratitude coin in the schools. And now, because of that one thing, I've got more than 130 schools from coast to coast using that gratitude coin in their classroom. So Not only was it something that I was doing to touch the world, but now if you think about it, I've got school teachers all over the country buying my book to continue to further their education on how to have a good, healthy mindset, but they are using that gratitude coin in schools from coast to coast, which the kids get gratitude coins. They take them home to their parents, and their parents see my website on that gratitude coin. And so, I get a double bang out of that because I'm really touching some people's lives in such a positive way. But yet every one of those people that I touch, like I said, 26,000 or more, they see my website on that coin when they get it.
Well, I just think that's such a beautiful, beautiful example of how marketing can feel great. There's nothing, pushy or used car salesman about it. You're making a difference and spreading your message in a way that's just a win-win all around. And I think it's a great example of some of the creative thinking that can come out of having your own book that can lead to making connections you would never in a million years expect.
Exactly.
So we're almost at the end of our time together, but my last question for everyone is always just, is there any advice you would want to leave an aspiring author about their journey from wanting to write a book to holding their book in their hands for the first time?
Well, my personal opinion is the facts of life are that more than 1 million people write books and release them each year. But unfortunately, 97-98% of them sell less than 500 copies of their book during the whole life of the book. And so if you're writing and you just feel like you have a story that you want to get out and you want to get it in a book form so that you feel that sense of accomplishment and that feeds you and is okay, then, do whatever you need to do. But if you want to be successful and you really want people to hear your message, look at it as a business, and you do have to do some creative things to market yourself. And I'm going to take 30 seconds, if you'll allow me, to tell you one more piece to give somebody else another idea.
Sure.
I have an affirmation card, and it's 4 inches by 6 inches, and I give it to people to put on their mirror in their bathroom. And it simply says, I like myself, I love my life, I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I add brightness to the life of everyone I meet. And so there again, I'm touching people's lives if they put that on their mirror in their bathroom. They see that, they say that to themselves every day, but right below that is my toll-free number and my website. So, again, I'm doing something that really touches people's lives, but it also is a marketing piece.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Darrell Knoch, I have to say that when I saw the notes from my producer about this interview, I really did expect to be interviewing just another self-help author, and you have definitely proven to me what is different and unique about your approach. I love what you do. I appreciate your time. I know that you have touched our listeners, and I thank you for your time.
Well, thank you so much, Angela. I really appreciate you allowing me to be on.
Terrific.